Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Tuesday, October 3, 2023, it is with pleasure that we meet today to talk about BNB, Binance's crypto. As usual, we will dissect it into two parts. A fundamental part where we will come back to Binance, to BNB, to its news, which is still quite a lot of things. And then we will go directly to projecting purchase prices, selling prices, short-term, medium-term, and it starts right away. How can we not talk about Binance when we talk about BNB? The two are so linked, given that Binance is directly integrated into the BNB chain, and it is thanks to Binance that we have BNB and that BNB has taken such a magnitude. Binance is the centralized exchange, or CEX, which is the largest in the world with more than 50% of market share. They reached 70% of the market share at the level of the first fall of the bull run. So in the years 2022, and then it is in the process of restrict with the regulatory problems that Binance is starting to have. And this is a bit of the news that we have a lot on Binance at the moment, where we have Binance, which leaves certain countries. Binance, which says that it will be very complicated to stay in certain countries, and so on. And we start to have compliance problems which come into account, and it is rather classic. What do we find in Binance? Certainly the biggest liquidity in the world in terms of cryptocurrencies. Certainly that's where we have the center of volume. That's where we have the center of liquidity. We have absolutely everything to be able to trade or buy, sell cryptos. We even have NFT management. We have an integrated NFT generator. We are going to have an academy, which is rather well done. We are going to have part of Trust Wallet. So they made a wallet directly, which is custodial, to be able to have something apart from the centralized exchange. They have a launch pad, which is rather interesting, even very interesting. There are a lot of things. And it is thanks to this centralized exchange that BNB has managed to gain value. BNB is behind the BNB chain, which historically was built on the Cosmos SDK, the Atom and Cosmos development kit. And next to it, it is a level 1 blockchain with classic infrastructure, EVM compatible, and which quite simply allows you to build EVM applications and be able to do decentralized finance. It totally broke because Ethereum was totally saturated, and BNB being interfaced directly with Binance here, there was a big interest in owning BNB and going to the BNB chain. It was very simple. We entered via Binance and we went directly to the BNB chain. It was really simple and effective. That's also why the BNB chain works so well. At this point, namely that BNB is also used in the platform, whether through EFI, therefore a reduction in transaction fees by spending BNB, or for example, the Launchpad where we stack BNB and we earn Launchpad tokens. Besides, the BNB chain was renamed before it was the BSC. Now it is the BNB chain. We have a desire to increase decentralization. We must take into account that the BNB chain is the ideal representative, false decentralization. With 22 nodes historically, and there they doubled, they went to 44, but we are really in something where it is very complicated to maintain, where basically it does not have a vocation to be decentralized. And it was the blockchain that stopped when there was a hack and the generation of 500 million BNB. They are arrested simply to block the person from recovering the funds. So we find ourselves in something like this where we obviously have a value at the BNB level. We don't use the BNB chain for its decentralization, okay? We use it for its low cost and all the applications that are on it and the fact of its simplicity. That's the principle. The BNB aside, we have a tokenomics, which is a little bit particular with burn transfers, which are relatively important, in which we always have burnings which have been carried out per quarter. Therefore, there it was the 23rd. We must be at the 24th now. But to give you an idea, we burned all that. There's even a site that is available, which is bnbburn.info, in which we see that we have already burned almost a quarter. Soon a quarter of the max supply. So what is just impressive? And that is the mechanism which has anyway been touted to burn part of the transaction fees, given that there are a lot of transaction fees, because there are a lot of transactions carried out on Binance and on the BNB chain in general, because Binance is also built on the BNB chain for precisely the transactions, which is rather classic, and they go further. They go much further than that because they are creating here OPBNB and ZKBNB, which are therefore two layers which are precisely on top of the BNB chain, which will allow for a structural reduction in costs. And I think you have already noted this. We were around 80 centimes to $1 per transaction on the BNB. Now we have gone to around 3 centimes. There you go. We are currently at 3 centimes the transaction on the BNB chain, and we see that their notion of scalability works. Well, in any case, their scalability process works very, very well, and they manage very well to implement it in a version which is not decentralized and autonomous. Okay, which is managed by the BNB. So with that, I wanted to address 2 points because they are very important. The 500 million BNB, they are still present. You have to understand that they have been blocked, but it is what we call bad debt, and this bad debt is still present. This implies that as long as the debt has not been taken and burned directly or burned at that point, that debt is still present by the protocol, and at that point, which is taken by Binance currently, but must have awareness that it is always present. The second thing that will be important to point out is the fact that BNB is maintained by Binance. You must understand that all the elements that I presented to you are directly linked to its CEO, who is CZ, and to the Binance entity, whether it is Binance US, whether it is all the other Binances, and therefore, inevitably, we will have a very strong connection and therefore risks which are linked to the person. We are not in a protocol which is 100% decentralized or which is intended to be centralized. For example, on Arbitrum, you have no idea who is behind it. While the BNB, we know that it is CZ. If there is a problem with CZ, he is a public figure. We know that we will have a crisis on the BNB chain and on the BNBs which are effective. And it's the same principle. Behind it, if Binance ever were to fall, would we have someone who would take over and maintain the BNB chain? I don't know. That's why I always limit a large part of my funds on the BNB chain. I go more on either Ethereum or classic BTC or C layer 2, so like Matic, in which we have decentralization, which is more important, and behind it less systemic risk compared to that. On the other hand, we have applications on the BNB chain, which are very good, but you should not always leave a lot of funds on them. In any case, this is what I recommend. This is what I apply to me all alone. We attack the technical part which is rather classic on this type of assets, with a large part of accumulation, bullish acceleration with the boom of layer 1, which carried out here a BC ARST SAO. So we really find the schematic of week off of a distribution with behind the buying climax, the secondary test. We didn't do any new ATH on the second part of the 2021 bull run, and then we got deeper here, and we are in a form of lateralization, which is representative of the sign of weakness. Sign of weakness in which we just made a little tap in the air here, something which is relatively rare, and the BNB really held up to the shock compared to the bearish breakout that we knew with Terra Luna and Celsius. It shows 2 things. It shows that 1, BNB is solid, and 2, that BNB is certainly being kept afloat for several reasons. It reminds me a little of what we have learned about certain other assets, and that's why I don't necessarily like cryptos that are linked directly to centralized exchanges in this way, is that we have a form of opacity which is really very strong, in which here, for me, the level of the 200, I have been telling you for a very long time that it is a level which is very strongly defended, and I think it will be redeemed between 200 and 180. So even if we have a wick at 180, it could be a great opportunity to make a bullish quantity provided, and this is taken into consideration, provided that we find ourselves on here, a CZ and a Binance which are fine, who are not being debunked, etc. It is very important to take it into consideration, especially since we have a Binance US, which is currently in confrontation with the Fed. It is just Binance US. But that does not prevent us from having deviations linked to that. And we really have to be careful and take into consideration the exposure we are going to have at the BNB level. In terms of targets, what can we set? We can very well say that we are in a big wave 2, which is rather classic in terms of schematics, to prepare for a big wave 3. Namely that Binance still remains the leader of centralized exchanges, to seek a target from 618. Classic Fibonacci extension in which we have the golden ratio with a BNB at 1,289 euros. So we still have big targets on one of the main cryptos in the ecosystem, and this is for that Binance is strong enough. Why is BNB strong enough? Because we have this ecosystem that has been created around Binance, and we have Binance which drains a maximum of internal liquidity. That is to say that it is certainly through this platform that people go through at the beginning to be able to buy their first crypto and investing in crypto. So obviously we have all this energy which is drained towards what? Towards Binance and towards BNB. Always be very careful when purchasing BNB. You are not holding shares of Binance. You are holding the utility token. Just pay attention to this part. We finished with this video. I hope you liked it. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for the daily.